Hello and welcome to my presentation on Feed My Starving Children for the assignment of the nonprofit servant leader profile. I decided to go with this organization not only because it's very admirable, but because it's something I'm familiar with. I've shared with them past back in my days of working production. So around the holidays, we would do volunteer activities primarily with partners. So I decided to go with this partnership because I feel like it really does embody the spirit of servant leadership and how it serves not only the communities but those that volunteer. Right at the mission statement, they quote Psalms 35, where it states, "Your love, Lord, reaches to the heavens, and your faithfulness to the skies." Um, and that really encapsulates how they perceive their mission into providing food and sustainability to communities, not only in the country but across the world that are in need. Their mission is also quoted as saying, as to feed God's starving children, hungry in body and spirit, in which they wish to reach every child who needs. That is something that is consistently mentioned as you go through their site. And when they mentioned hungry in body and spirit, the body part obviously is providing these meals, putting together these meals, providing these access to resources, hungry children, of course, but also in spirit, which comes from the volunteers who take part in this, who are working upon something that's more than themselves. And that's really where I feel like the the principles of servant leadership really come together. I decided to go with stewardship, building a community, and empathizing as three of the main focuses on how FMSC does this, and I'm gonna use FMS kind of short because their title is fairly long. So the first one is stewardship. So FMSC as an organization itself as a strong member of a solution for a problem that's been with humanity since the dawn of time, which is hunger of children across the world. Merriam-Webster describes a stewardship as one who sees their goal of steward as an obligation more so than a task that you would. I decided to highlight the description of what stewardship because FMSC does a really good job of incorporating what they see as their calling from their Christian background and as their mission to focus back on Jesus Christ, committing to honor Him, and that goes through the way they operate. So, as we'll go on later, FMSC does a great job of not only making these meals for families that need it, doing donations and drives to provide these families with resources, but they do a good job of incorporating local businesses and other businesses around them to really help build the sense of, okay, you're not just volunteering this to get your community service hours at your organization, but you're actually doing something that is for the greater good of more than yourself, but for others as well. And it's a very empowering environment to be in. So I hope I'm not sounding like I'm selling this, but I do recommend if you do get a chance to take part in some of the volunteer options that organization. And that goes into the other side of the servant leadership principle that it carries, which is building a community. On their side is quoted that on one of their commitments is to commit to supporting long-term feeding programs, which help ensure the continued growth of children who receive our food. This is through their coalition relief organization promoting practical solutions, or CROPS for short. This program was created to help developing areas learn the basics and receive the equipment to build sustainable food sources within them. Um, so not only are they, getting these organizations and these companies or partnering with these fellow organizations to build up their, to accomplishing their mission, but as they move forward with some of these more needing communities, they actually put in place certain programs that help those communities not only get that meal once from a donation or from the people who participate in the community, but to also in the long term find a way to sustain themselves so they don't find themselves going through malnourishment and other situations such as that. And that goes on to the third principle, and probably the most important one, I think, which is empathy. On their site, FMSC shared a story of the two twins who were described as malnourished and who were said that they were not going to make it after their mother took them to a clinic. So these were two children in a country in Africa that, didn't get the right nourishment that they needed, and they're, at death's door. And through word of mouth within the community, the mother found a solution to help her kids, which is through the partner of FSMSC African children today. This allowed for the children to receive the nutrients that they need to improve and are now said to be healthy. And they actually provide a picture of the two. Being able to put so having stories like this help humanize the mission of the organization for future partners and donors, and it allows them to see firsthand how they're able to help these families in a direct way. Being able to put a face and name along these donations allows for others to empathize not only with the mission of the organization, but with those who are benefiting from the mission of this organization. You know, as you go through their site, there's countless amount of stories such as this, where either partnerships that FMSC has put together or through some of the programs they run with these organizations, they're able to provide these necessary resources to communities of need. And that is just through sheer and that allows, others to empathize alongside with the mission of this company. And that also allows them to build these networks, which is also part of building a community, right? Getting the resources to do the crops incentive. And also just going back into their Christian, what drives them, which is their Christian beliefs, that they're doing work with their volunteering effort. Why this works, I feel like the most effective principle that FMSC uses is empathy. Servant leadership and the purpose to serve others is discussed by Greenleaf as people's highest priority needs are being served. For all of us, our core priority is to live a life of dignity, and that is done by having your basic needs such as shelter, warmth, and food being taken care of. When seeing that others around the world, especially children, are living in fear that they won't have enough to, it's easy to want to go and help them. And FMSC's mission is one that not many would disagree with, obviously, right? If you find someone that disagrees with, I would not recommend talking to them. But their mission in itself is something that you know is bigger than yourself, bigger than your neighbor. It's all our neighbors, it's the community. And allows for others to empathize with those that need the help easily. And I feel like this is one of the core concepts of servant leadership, which is, understanding others, right? Understanding those you serve. If you don't get to understand those you serve, you're not able to serve them effectively. And what FMSC does is not only are the volunteers and the workers in the organization aware of what they're needing to do, but they're able to build these profiles with the resources they're provided so that others also understand who they're helping, why they're helping it, help empathize with what the mission is to accomplish. Even if you're not coming from a religious background, you wouldn't find yourself being like, well, they're doing this because of Christian beliefs. I'm not going to help assist them with donating to their organization. You read stories such as like Rose and her brother, and these children that were at death's door. A clinic told their mother to go home because they just weren't gonna make it, and finding through word of mouth a partnered organization that was able to have these kids lead a, be able to see why this core principle has helped them be successful as an organization. Um, a lot of people say sometimes there's not enough empathy in the world, but with organizations such as FMS, you really see that people are able to put the greater purpose of, what needs to be done over just their initial cells of mission and help build these facilities of term sustainable, resources for communities. So these are some of the references I use when putting together this assignment, but that is my servant leadership profile on Feed My Starving Children. Again, there's also a link to the site there if you're more interested in looking into other ways you could help volunteer. The site was actually really easy through, but thank you for listening to the project. Bye.